Are Harry and Meghan getting involved in a new transatlantic battle with the Beckhams? Did Catherine send a coded message this week? Who has called Prince William workshy? And what brought tears to Camilla's eyes this week? We have another fascinating show lined up for you. Hello and welcome to Palace Confidential. I'm Jo Elvin, and on today's panel is Mail on Sunday's editor-at-large Charlotte Griffiths and the Daily Mail's diary editor Richard Eden. Welcome to you both. Now, before we get going, I want to tell you about a new target we have for subscribers. That's right, we're never happy. We want to get to 500,000, and before that though, we want to get to 450,000. So if you don't already, please do press the subscribe button to never miss a video from the Daily Mail Royals channel. Like the special episode we put out earlier this week on Prince Harry's legal battle to secure police protection in the UK. Rebecca and Richard explained the details, intrigue and even conspiracies over the story. If you missed it, there's no need to panic, as it will play straight after this video today. Okay, I want to get to my panel, but before I do, here is Catherine, Princess of Wales.
Over the past year, nature has been my sanctuary. The natural world's capacity to inspire us, to nurture us, and help us heal and grow is boundless.
So tell us about this, Richard.
Yeah, this is fascinating. This is the first of what are going to be 4 videos, all about nature. It was released this week because it's Mental Health Awareness Week. Obviously, mental health has for many years been a subject that Prince William and Catherine feel very strongly about. They go back to that launch of Heads Together and schemes like that. Well, this is about the importance of nature. And as we've heard before from Catherine, she's felt that during her recovery from cancer, nature has been really important. She's just found a lot of a sense of healing, really, in being close to nature. And this video was essentially encouraging all of us. It doesn't matter if you live in the city or the country or wherever, but just trying to seek out nature and benefit from it. So it was all about that, and it's, a very modern, different style of video.
It is, isn't it? Charlotte, look at you radiating like the sun there in your orange. It seems like the younger elements of the royal family are trying to engage the public in new ways and new mediums.
Yes, it wasn't exactly a TikTok video, but I do suspect that would be next because it's a video obviously targeted at people who use YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, people who don't necessarily open up a newspaper and read a newspaper, because in the olden days you'd have Princess Diana in the 80s, presenting herself for the papers. Anyway, so it's the new generation, and that's why it's this video. And a lot of people did say it sounded a little bit like AI had written the script, which I thought was a bit unkind.
That doesn't sound like a high praise. Yeah.
The script was a little bit cliched in parts, I'd say. But the message, I liked the message. It was really nice, and it was also very, very subtly trying to encourage kids not to be on their screens. It was saying, this is a digital age, try not to use your screens and be in nature. But the irony was, it's aimed at younger people watching their screens, watching their YouTube, Twitter and Instagram.
Richard, you've been out making nature videos in TikTok, haven't you? But some traditionalists might raise their eyebrows at it?
Yeah, I think it's a reflection that I joined TikTok, as you say, and what they want is video. Whereas on Instagram before you might just be able to post a photograph. Well, what gets promoted by these social media companies now is video, and the royal household are very aware of that. So there's no point putting out a message if no one sees it. So they're being encouraged by these companies to create these videos. And yes, there's been some of the sort of older courtiers, they note the difference from previous generations. Obviously, it's not the sort of thing you can imagine Queen Elizabeth or Princess Anne doing. And what people have been concerned about is that they're worried they might be doing this instead of getting out and meeting the people. Because obviously, what we know from Princess Anne is very important for her to be going out and lots of engagements, meeting as many people as possible, and that's really what strengthens bonds with the royal family. So I'm sure Catherine and William still intend to do that, and hopefully the videos that they're producing will be in addition.
Yeah, well, she was out and about this week, wasn't she, Charlotte? Sticking with Catherine, but there were those. This is an interesting bit of intrigue that people were suggesting she was sending a message with an outfit that she wore in a public engagement.
She was sending a message. She was wearing a Victoria Beckham outfit. It was a khaki suit. In her new muted tones, she wears a lot of sort of greens and neutrals and maroons now. but it was a Victoria Beckham suit. And I love a conspiracy.
Has she really never worn Victoria Beckham before?
No, she hasn't. And I think she was sending a message of support to Victoria Beckham. And we'll come on to this later in the show. But, you know, Victoria Beckham is going through a sort of Megxit drama of her own, which people are calling Beckxit, I think. I do wonder, you know, the Beckhams have a good relationship with the royal family now. He hasn't got his knighthood, David Beckham, yet, but I think he's gunning for one.
Oh, not yet. So close.
And the Beckhams aren't any more close with Meghan and Harry, so I just wonder whether that suit was her being on Team VB.
The timing is... It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
the timing. It's fun.
I should say, so what the engagement was Catherine was there to present the prizes for, it's the Queen Elizabeth prize for British designers.
Yeah.
So, you know, sources at Kensington Palace are keen to stress that she was wearing Victoria Beckham as a sign of support and solidarity for British designers in general.
Yes.
But what I've written about in a column for Mail Plus this week is that friends of theirs have told me there is more to it, and that, you know, Prince William and Catherine are aware of the sort of ongoing story about the Beckhams, and they haven't been put off by that. You know, they clearly want to show that there's no issue for them. They're happy to show their support for the Beckhams, and so it is very intriguing.
But to put it in a different way, if they were really thinking in PR terms, they might have very much deliberately not worn Victoria Beckham this week, of all weeks.
Exactly. I think that's the point, that you know, some people might say, oh, you don't want to go near the Beckhams at the moment. They're on the front pages because of this sort of family row, but you know, they're above that. They don't.
So you're saying it would be very naive of me to think that the princess was presented with a rail of clothes and really liked that suit the most, and it just happened to be Victoria Beckham.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bloody good suit, but somebody might have said to her, look, this one's Victoria Beckham. She's in the papers a lot this week. Are you sure, Your Royal Highness, that you want to wear Victoria Beckham? And she would have said yes.
Okay, well, we will put a link to that article in the description below, and stick around because we do have a big story involving the Sussexes and the Beckhams coming up for you in just a few minutes. Now, Charlotte, William was doing an engagement on his own this week where he revealed Princess Charlotte's new hobby.
Yes, Prince William was at Windsor Castle this week doing an investiture, and he met Keely Hodgkinson, who is an amazing athlete, won gold at the Olympics in Paris last year. And he revealed, oh, by the way, my daughter, she's training for a 400 metres and she's really good at athletics. And I found that fascinating because she's only 10 and apparently she's learning to do hurdles as well, Princess Charlotte. And she's just very athletic, like her mum, because she also does, I think she does riding, I think she does football, I think she even does rugby.
Wow.
I know she does tennis because she goes to the Hurlingham Club, which is one of the finest tennis clubs in London. So this is one very sporty princess we've got on our hands, and it was really nice to hear that anecdote from Prince William.
I love that. I hope she keeps that up because that's a brilliant example for other young girls, isn't it? Because we know that girls aren't, you know, generally as keen to get into sports as they get older.
Yes,
So-
and they're quite masculine sports. You know, rugby is a very physical sport, which traditionally has been seen as a sort of man's only thing.
So she's out there, she's working hard already. But Richard, it's intriguing that apparently there was somebody quoted in the New York Times this week as calling William workshy.
Yeah, it was an article, it was pretty negative, I must say.
Must be.
It was a sort of update on King Charles's reign so far, and it was sort of suggesting that it had been overshadowed by the row with Prince Harry and Meghan, and also saying sort of they had someone on making a point about Prince William being work shy, which is a sort of accusation that sort of has hung round over the years. And I think I should put that in the context
Who made
of...
the accusation?
It was a royal historian who, pointed out that Prince William has been accused of being work shy in the past and could be doing more. But I should put that in some context. I mean, it's always sort of hung around Prince William and Catherine, but it is because they've always stressed the importance of family.
Yeah.
And, that they have a duty to raise the next monarch as well. And I think they're very keen to spend as much time with the children as possible. And I think, first of all, that sort of accusation about work shy came when Prince William was stationed when he was with the air ambulance as well, and people saying he wasn't doing that much. But I think they've always been keen to do things their way,
Yeah.
and that won't necessarily involve hundreds of engagements, but will be targeted work more carefully.
Indeed, and they've said that before, haven't they? Now, also, Richard, the King and Queen were out at a glamorous party this week, but behind the smiles, there was some emotion from Camilla.
Yeah, it's always an emotional event for her because it's a fundraising event, a party for the Elephant Family, which is a charity founded by her beloved, Queen Camilla's beloved brother, Mark Shand, who died far too young. He founded this charity, it's done great work, and she's obviously misses her brother, and when they start reminiscing about it at this event, I think it always brings back those sort of memories. But they always make a point of attending this event every year, and it's very jolly. It's one where they raise funds from having sort of painted elephants and usually, put them around London.
Yes,
and then
love that.
You can buy them to raise money. So overall, it's a jolly event.
Amazing. Well, Charlotte, apparently we will see the King and the Prince of Wales in a special joint engagement tomorrow. So they're both out working.
They're both out working together. Yeah. And it's a really interesting moment because obviously the Prince of Wales is taking on his father's former position, which is the Grand Master of the Order of the Bath. Very complicated, a little bit esoteric. But of course, King Charles is no longer the Prince of Wales, so this very big honour gets bestowed upon his son. I think William is going to feel very awkward because he has to wear a ridiculous robe.
I do love those scenes, I'm sorry.
They do look good.
Tell me about it.
Let's hope it's not too hot tomorrow then.
Yeah, well, if it's boiling tomorrow, we're going to be in trouble because it's basically a pair of curtains with a massive gold disc on it. And I know that William, being a very modern prince, doesn't like dressing up in these outfits. He thinks they look little bit too fanciful for a modern monarchy. But they look quite good on King Charles because he's just that little bit older. But I think through gritted teeth he'll have to wear it because it's a great big honour and it's a really nice father-son moment.
And we have to have those traditions, don't we?
Yeah, I hope Catherine will be there to have a giggle and tease him. Actually, often is when they had the Order of the Garter parade in Windsor.
With the big plume.
With the plume,
Exactly.
the famous plume. William hates that plume, he really does. It's this big feather that comes out of his head.
Personally, I hope as Prince William gets older, he sort of starts to enjoy this stuff a bit more because I love it. You can't... A sort of modern monarchy is a contradiction in terms, really. That's the whole point, is it is ancient.
We can't be watering down the pomp and ceremony, can we?
No, in my opinion, then you sort of, you get rid of the purpose of it, don't you?
Yeah, I want to see my royalty from space in their big plumes and their big glowy curtains.
Wearing tights?
Yeah, absolutely. Stick the tights in as well. And if you are wondering where our Rebecca English is today, she is in Bradford, which, if you're one of our overseas viewers, that's in the north of England, with I don't think you need to be told who she's with. It's with King Charles and Queen Camilla, of course, following their busy day of engagements up there. Now, we hope that she'll be back next week to tell us all about it. We've still got lots to come, including an extraordinary Prince Harry video and one royal who's been revealing both sweet and funny stories about the family. Before that, though, let's hear some of your comments from last week's show. After the Wales family came out en masse for the VE Day commemorations at Buckingham Palace, S. Oreo wrote, Prince William and Princess Catherine looked so proud of Prince George, as they should. George looked to be a complete natural as he interacted with the veterans. I was proud of him too. While Philip Milner was moved to write after Prince Harry's astonishing interview with the BBC. Princess Diana gave an interview to Martin Bashir for the BBC that ended badly. Prince Andrew gave an interview to Emily Maitlis for the BBC that ended badly. Did Harry think giving an interview to the BBC would be third time lucky? Good question. And as I mentioned earlier, we put out a video explaining Prince Harry's UK court battle over the funding for his police protection. The comments section was lively, as you can imagine in that one. So here are a couple. Sue Price's question resonated with a lot of you. If Harry believes it's an establishment stitch-up, and that certain people would be happy to see him in harm's way, then why would he want this same establishment to provide security for him? It doesn't make sense. An Australian viewer, Lulu, has a cheeky request for our American viewers. To my dear fellow humans in the USA, your country was founded on Christian principles. I implore you to be gracious, kind and understanding to Harry and his wife, because we here in Australia sure as hell don't want them running over here. Oh dear, they're all yours, that is all. While Dim Wit says, Harry has shown us all that he doesn't need security after knocking on doors without it and nobody knew who he was. Well, Thank you for all those comments. We love you joining the conversation. Keep them coming. As always, do keep things respectful under the comments there. Now, we're going to stay with that last comment for a moment. Richard, talk us through this very bizarre Harry doorbell footage.
Oh my goodness, I have to genuinely say when I saw that first, I thought this can't be real. But what it was footage from a door cam, which are increasingly popular, certainly in Britain now. There's very clear images. And what it was Prince Harry knocking on various doors in a street in West London. And it's not clear why.
On various doors.
I mean, let's put this in context.
You'd call Neighbourhood Watch if it wasn't a royal, wouldn't you? You'd be like, there's a guy.
Yeah. You know, this time last week we were discussing Prince Harry's interview where he was talking about he's so fearful about the security for him and his family that he sued British taxpayers. He is refusing to bring his family here because he's so scared. Yet here he is, kind of on his own apparently, just knocking on random doors. Just bizarre.
It really is. It has spawned many theories about what's going on, hasn't it, Charlotte? Is there anything you can share with us?
My theory is entirely innocent. I think he was just visiting his friends, John and Georgina Vaughan, known as the Vaughans. They live on a road in Fulham that's quite close to his favourite pub, called the Duke on the Green, which is owned by his friend Mark Dyer. So I'm putting all the pieces together here. This is my theory. I think he went to the pub and then he thought he'd pop in on his old friends, the Vaughans. And he knocked on their door and realised that they'd actually rented it out. There's some Spaniards actually living there now. And so maybe that's why he was just knocking on the door, trying to get hold of his old friend.
Hang on a minute, though.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's your old friend, why are you knocking on several doors, trying to guess the number of, like, what?
Well, presumably when he knocked on the door of his friends correctly, he got the right door, and found some Spaniards opening the door, saying, "Oh, I've no idea. I live here now." He must have thought, "Oh, I misremembered." Don't forget, he hasn't been in London for 5 years, more or less.
Oh, come on.
And then he tried a different door, thinking, "Oh, I must have remembered the wrong number or something."
Sorry,
That's what I would do.
I have to say, I mean, it just strikes me as so odd because surely if they were friends of his, he would have their number in his phone, and you would ring first to say, "Oh, are you at home?"
I mean,
He was on the phone in the picture.
I'll be
I just wonder
honest.
whether he was ringing them saying, I was going to surprise you, and I'm outside your
No,
house.
I don't care if you're the King of England. No one appreciates the pop-in. No one appreciates the spontaneous pop-in. I'm with you. Why not just text and say, "I'm in the street. What's your number again?" You know.
Yeah, or maybe they weren't answering. Yeah,
But I mean,
it's a
either
mystery.
way, whatever the explanation, it is very odd behaviour, isn't it? And just to be that image of sort of being lost and knocking on doors, it's just a strange, terrible image.
He's quite estranged from a lot of his friends. You know, it could be that he rang them and they didn't answer the phone, so he tried them on the door.
Although, as is 21st century tradition, it's that strange image has spawned a lot of enjoyable memes, hasn't it? Have you got any favourites?
Yeah, there was one I shared on social media. I thought it was brilliant, where they'd mocked up, so it's the image of him from the door cam, which, as I say, is very clear, and they turned him into a Deliveroo driver. And what was he serving up? He was delivering Meghan's jars of jam. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
That's so him, though. He's so demoted to the level of delivery driver in that relationship, I think.
Oh, goodness,
Yeah.
that's quite a thing to say, isn't it? Now, Charlotte, also, on a more serious note, I know you had another theory about him wanting to connect with the Vaughans to get in touch with William. Is that...
Well, I do wonder, so the Vaughans are marginally closer to Prince William than to Prince Harry. I do wonder whether, that in some act of desperation to get hold of his brother, who we know has cut him off, and we know his father's cut him off, whether he was somehow trying to get to the Vaughans to get a message to his brother. I mean, these are the things I was wondering last Saturday as we were trying to put the pieces together, because he's not getting any contact with his old family.
That feels a bit desperate, doesn't it? Do you think that's true?
Sorry, I can't get my head around it at all. Imagine being so desperate that you can't get a message to someone via modern methods of communication, such as a telephone or...
That's exactly what happened, though, when he
email.
did the BBC interview. He had to get hold of his father via the BBC. That's what he was doing, wasn't he? He was sending a message to his father saying, I can't get through to him, he won't answer my calls, and now I'm giving this interview to the BBC.
Yeah,
It was desperate.
Wow.
Certainly that's what these images increase, that idea of him as being a very desperate man.
Well, it only gets more and more extraordinary because Charlotte, now we're going to talk about this story that's just breaking, connecting Harry and Meghan with a family, another famous British family who've become quite close to the royals.
Yeah, well, the other British royal family is the Beckhams, let's face it. And King and Queen is David and Victoria. Family is everything to them.
They even got married on thrones.
They got married on thrones. She wore a little crown.
Yeah.
She's called Posh. They have forged really strong links with the royal family, and he's desperate for a knighthood, but we'll come on to that another time. But they've lost contact with their son Brooklyn because he's married an American and he's moved to America, and this has caused a huge amount of tension. A lot of the blame is being placed on Nicola Peltz, Brooklyn's wife, who some people are saying, including sources close to Victoria, is a viper who has served to stir the pot between the Beckhams and remove Brooklyn from the family, and there's huge amounts of tension. Well, can you remember a story that's quite similar to this from recent years? And then amazingly, the story that broke today was that Meghan and Nicola have chatted about this, have discussed this, and the four of them had a dinner together at Meghan's house in Montecito and Harry's house in Montecito, and they've actually kind of come together as the sort of ousted parties to unite.
I mean, my goodness, you think when Harry and Meghan...
it just sounds like a soap opera.
When Harry and Meghan moved to America, there was all these sort of ideas that they were going to be mixing with the Obamas, they were going to be mixing with the Clooneys who attended their wedding, and here they are desperately inviting Brooklyn Beckham and his wife round for dinner.
So remind us, what is the history between the Sussexes and the Beckhams? Because obviously Victoria and David did go to their wedding, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, this is why this story is so fascinating, is that David and Victoria Beckham were friendly with Prince Harry and Meghan, and apparently, like so many others, they did fall out. There's lots of history there. There seems to be to do with clothes that I think Victoria had given Meghan to wear. There were some tensions there, and there was one incident where David Beckham actually flew out to Australia for some event with the Invictus Games that Harry was organising, and when he got there, after obviously it's a very long journey from Britain, Prince Harry didn't meet him at all, and he thought, that's a bit rum. But what people have told me is that the Beckhams were not impressed by Harry and Meghan's behaviour over recent years. The attacks on the royal family have gone down very badly with David, who's, to explain to our viewers, he's an ardent royalist. He memorably queued up 12 hours to file past the coffin of Queen Elizabeth. And so I think they have become distant from Harry and Meghan and seem to be increasingly friendly with Prince William and Catherine.
Just to give you the other side, Meghan and Harry apparently, reportedly, think that the Beckhams were too leaky, and whenever they interacted with them, stories would leak out, and so that's why Meghan pushed distance between them. But as always with these arguments, both sides think that there's a different reason for the fallout.
Yeah, the little I know of the Beckhams and the press, do they spend their time running to the press, telling it?
Well, they have historically. I mean, back in their early fame years, they did famously leak a lot of stories to OK magazine about their engagement and their wedding. They do have that kind of relationship with the press. That in a way the royal family do, and that's what Meghan and Harry rails against. But now Meghan and Harry also play that game because often they leak stories to People magazine by all accounts.
But I think this issue of Meghan inviting Nicola Peltz and Brooklyn
is that what happened?
To their house. Apparently so. This is certainly in the Sun newspaper today, and if that's true, it is extraordinary because it's showing Meghan stirring things up.
It's a provocative move.
Finding common cause with someone there who's in a similar situation, and that was how it was portrayed in these reports. They were saying that Harry and Meghan wanted to do it because they wanted to sort of show their sympathy for them. But imagine how interesting it is, and this business of sort of trying to befriend, other younger British people in America as well. I've seen before. I wrote myself about how they tried to befriend Tom Holland, the Spider-Man star, and his American girlfriend Zendaya. And they got a call out of the blue from Meghan wanting to meet, and they did meet for a drink, but apparently they found it very odd. They didn't understand why they were sort of being targeted in this way, and I think Meghan might have wanted them to take part in her podcast or other programmes, and that has not happened. So this business of trying to sort of befriend other people is quite odd.
Tom and Zendaya sort of very famously live very privately and don't really court any of that sort of attention. Do you know?
They really don't need that. And you know, is it wise of Brooklyn and Nicola Peltz to be getting involved with Harry and Meghan?
This was my next question for you, Charlotte. Is like, is it, you know, if you're looking at the Megxit model, is that a model anyone might advise Brooklyn and Nicola to be following at this juncture in their careers and lives?
Well, certainly Megxit has not been very kind to Meghan and Harry in many ways, but what it has got them is constant headlines. I mean, those two are never out of the papers and online, and for 5 years. Now, what I'm reading a lot about Nicola is that she already had the money, and Brooklyn had the fame, but she herself wants to be super duper famous. So I just wonder whether she thinks, well, I'll kind of dance in this Megxit drama, I'll dance to their tune, and I too will become famous, albeit for not great reasons, because a lot of the publicity about Nicola is very negative and portrays her as this woman who stole her husband away from his own family. But if that's the playbook she's going for, if it's notoriety and fame she wants, she'll certainly get it. Look at her today. She's, you know, on the front page of The Sun.
Let's move on, because I want to look at a new poll now that has got a lot of people talking. William and Catherine are the UK's favourite royals, and I think a quick look at our comments from Palace Confidential would confirm this. Tell us about this poll, Richard, and because it wasn't all good news for a certain former working royal, was it?
No, I mean, the headline to the poll was that it was about Harry and Meghan's lack of popularity. And, I mean, it's just so striking because, you know, it's easy to forget now, but Prince Harry was by far the most popular member of the royal family.
Yeah.
You know, he was really loved, but he's now gone to, I think, if I remember rightly, I think it's 28% of people who responded to this survey had a favourable view of him. You know, 28. I mean, it would have been like 80% in the past or something. And for Meghan, it was even less. It was only 20%. But there was one bit of good news for them.
27 for Harry, I'm just hearing.
27 and 20 for Meghan. Yeah. And the only sort of crumb of comfort for Harry and Meghan is there is a member of the royal family who is less popular than them. And that is poor old Prince Andrew.
Oh my gosh.
Poor old.
So he actually serves a purpose now. It's to make them feel less bad.
The bar is low.
But yeah, certainly Prince William and Catherine were very popular. I think they said, I think it was 75% had a favourable view of William, which bodes very well for our heir to the throne.
Charlotte, do you think that this is the kind of thing that Harry and Meghan would pay any attention to or care about, or would it be quite wounding, do you think? I mean, it's obviously, potentially it could sort of foresee problems for their commercial ventures, couldn't it?
Yeah, so I think the fact that they have a lot of notoriety and a huge amount of fame, they probably think is quite good for getting these deals with, say, Netflix, or if she wants to sell jam or make any other products. But actually, what a poll does, which they might actually worry about, is show that although they're very, very well known, that people don't actually like them. So if I was, I don't know, making her jam, you know, the company like Netflix selling her jam, I'd worry that the fame doesn't translate to actual sales of their goods. So I guess that's the one bit of noise, as they call it, they'd pay attention to, might be a poll. But the rest of the negative publicity about themselves, they say they don't listen to or read, and they're not worried about. But this one they might do because it has a financial worry attached to it.
Well, we should say that this is a poll of entirely people in Britain.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just don't think Meghan cares about Britain at all anymore. I don't think she could care less how popular she is. I mean, I think it's evident from what Harry said in this interview that she's got no plans to come back, and that's perhaps why she's befriending someone like Nicola Peltz, who again finds herself at odds with British popular characters.
It's a good point about a survey for a British audience. So I think we should have a Palace Confidential poll. We know we've got a pretty global audience, so I think I'll speak to the producers and we'll put something in our comments so we can do our own official poll. What do you think?
Interesting.
Speaking of commercial struggles, though, for a second, Meghan's company has a disgruntled customer that we know about.
Oh God, this was one that hit the headlines because it was someone who had followed a recipe in Meghan's Netflix series. You might remember that part of her sort of hospitality and entertaining was about making guests feel really welcome when they stay at her home. And one way she would do it was provide a recipe for sort of bath salts to have a lovely bath. Well, someone followed her recipe. I'm not sure how accurately they followed it. But anyway, it resulted in some terrible burns. They were very injured, and they're now suing Meghan, apparently, for this recipe. I mean, to be fair...
How do you get burns from a bath scrub recipe?
I don't know. I'm sure it's being made up, to be honest.
Really?
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but we should make clear it's not a product being made by Meghan.
No.
It was basically her saying, "This is how I like to, create a nice bath." So, but anyway, it was just more negative publicity.
Do you think it's a chancer, though, trying to sort of make some money from suing Meghan over some bath salts?
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll certainly watch that case with interest.
Yeah. Well, to a story now that always tends to rile viewers in our comments section. It's the scandal of the African Parks charity. Now, Charlotte, this was something your paper investigated. What is the latest?
Yeah, so last January, the Mail and Sunday did an amazing investigation of Africa Parks and discovered that there was a lot of mistreatment going on. Mainly the rangers that look after the land there were kind of abusing the local indigenous people in horrific ways. And then what we've discovered now is that they have actually, they looked into it basically with lawyers, and it has been officially now concluded that there were human rights abuses taking place at Harry's charity African Parks, and he was the president, now he's on the board of directors.
Can I just take you back? What is it that African Parks charity actually does?
Essentially, what the charity is doing is buying up vast areas of Africa to try to preserve the wildlife. But that's put them into conflict with tribes who live from hunting wildlife within that area. And so these rangers employed by the charity were stopping tribal people from kind of living, really.
Foraging for food. The Baku tribe were foraging for food there. They have done for millennia.
Yes.
And the rangers were stopping that.
And that's where the abuses have come in.
Well, we have to say there's no suggestion, of course, that Harry himself was involved in any wrongdoing or knew about it. But it's another case of bad PR. It's something that was previously something very positive for him and close to him.
Yes, it is. And it also, it can be seen in tandem with Centre, which we know, obviously, Prince Harry quit as a royal patron of that African charity. And it's just that he doesn't have that sort of backup now, that network of the royal household behind him, where previously there'd be lots of people that would be looking into charities, that would be warning of problems ahead, things like that. And he doesn't have that anymore, really. So, they've got their own staff, but everything is more difficult when you're, sort of flying solo like he is.
Indeed. Well, just a couple of bits of royal housekeeping now. Now, Charlotte, we have our next state visit to the UK confirmed now.
Yeah, President Macron's coming over in July. So he'll beat Donald Trump over here. I wonder how Donald Trump will feel about it. He might feel a little bit usurped, but yeah, he's coming over, and it'll be a glorious celebration of the diplomacy between our two nations. And it's more hard work for Charles, actually. I mean, 2 state visits in a matter of months is quite a big deal, I think.
It'll be interesting. And Richard, the Princess Royal, was breaking new ground for the royal family.
Yes, this is not quite an undiscovered part of the United Kingdom, but it's one that apparently no member of the royal family had visited before. And it's part of the Channel Islands, is Sark. It's a wonderful place where they don't have cars. Everyone travels by horse and cart.
I really want to go. I've never been.
I would like to go. You certainly can't hire a car while you're there. No. But anyway, so where she visited was peninsula off Sark, known as Little Sark, I think.
Okay.
And no member of the royal family had been to that particular place. So she was breaking new ground there. But a real idyllic part of the world. It was essentially, it was an important event because it was remembering their liberation from the Nazis.
Right. Well, and we know how intrepid our Anne is.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Princess Royal, inevitably leads us to... That's right. It's time to celebrate the unsung royal hero of the week. Now, Richard, you are nominating Zara. Zara Tindall.
Yes, Zara, not only is it her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Zara.
Yeah, but she was giving a talk at a charity event, and classic Zara, like her husband Mike Tindall, she was quite free with her anecdotes and everything. And she was making the point that, her family, the royal family, are not that different to any others in that they have their problems, they have their difficulties. she was emphasising that. And also, I have to say, I ran an item in my social diary where she was talking about a rather big problem, awkward problem close to home, which was her husband snoring.
Oh, okay. Well, now I can relate to a royal. Now I get it. Yeah.
Now, what it was is Mike Tindall was a great England player. He's a former England rugby captain, but he broke his nose 8 times. Now, that doesn't do wonders for your breathing. And Princess Anne, in fact, had encouraged him to have an operation before the wedding. And Zara had spoken about how she pleaded with him to have one because she thought it would help his snoring. And he did eventually undergo an operation in 2018. But from what I hear, he does still snore. So I think it helped, and it certainly made him look better. But he might still be sleeping in the spare room.
And she also did well at the badminton horse trials.
Yeah, so Zara got the Armada dish, which is a very special piece of silverware you get if you've completed 5 badminton horse trials, which is quite amazing because they're incredibly dangerous. They're quite serious, and to do 5 of them is a bit of an achievement, so full marks to her, I say.
Well, to mark the occasion of Zara's birthday, we have put together one of our now world-famous montages, and here are some of our favourite pictures of her from over the years. Very happy birthday to Zara from all of us here at Palace Confidential. Well, this has been a great chat, and a reminder that if you want to watch more of this sort of thing, subscribe to the Daily Mail Royals channel. Up next is our special episode looking at Prince Harry's legal battle over his police protection. You can click here to watch that. There's just time now to say thank you to my panel, Charlotte and Richard, and to you for watching. We'll see you next week on Palace Confidential.